If you look at Hong Kong recently in May, they actually passed the stablecoins bill. It's globally the first bill to come out that has really clear framework in terms of stablecoins and also how the Hong Kong government view cryptocurrency in general. I think it opened up a lot of support and education and understanding for the mass consumer and also TradFi investor to understand what stablecoin is. And that, on surface, it might not be so directly related to Bitcoin. But for us, now that we have a Bitcoin treasury strategy on top of the food business, it's actually fantastic. Even though mainland China prohibits direct investment into Bitcoin since 2021, the Hong Kong government actually promotes Web3 and crypto. They want to be like this, I would say, crypto center for Asia.
Norma Chu's strategic decision to transform DayDayCook's treasury approach through Bitcoin integration represents a pivotal moment in the cryptocurrency's institutional evolution, demonstrating how digital assets have transitioned from speculative trading vehicles to legitimate corporate financial instruments. Her leadership of DDC Enterprise Limited's massive $528 million capital raise, dedicated almost entirely to Bitcoin treasury expansion, showcases the improved regulatory environment and macroeconomic conditions that now enable smaller public companies to pursue aggressive cryptocurrency strategies without triggering board-level concerns about dramatic business model shifts. The financing itself stands as a landmark achievement, ranking among the largest single-purpose Bitcoin raises by any NYSE-listed company and attracting significant institutional backing from prominent investors including Anson Funds, Animoca Brands, Kenetic Capital, QCP Capital, and a broader network of institutional funds and individual Bitcoin investors. This level of investor confidence reflects the growing institutional acceptance of Bitcoin as a viable treasury asset rather than a speculative gamble. Chu's approach aligns with a broader corporate trend exemplified by companies like Metaplanet, which has successfully pivoted from hotel operations to accumulating 15,555 BTC while maintaining ambitious plans to reach 210,000 BTC by 2027. These companies are fundamentally redefining Bitcoin's role in corporate finance, moving beyond the traditional digital gold narrative to position cryptocurrency as an active financial instrument comparable to stocks or bonds, capable of providing leverage and enabling real economic scaling rather than merely serving as a passive store of value. This transformation from DDC's origins as an Asian culinary platform to a potential major corporate Bitcoin holder illustrates how traditional businesses are increasingly integrating cryptocurrency into their core treasury management strategies as a standard component of modern corporate finance. If you found value in this breakdown, make sure to like, subscribe, and share it with fellow investors who want to stay ahead of the curve. Your support enables us to keep delivering clear analysis and featuring voices with real insight into what's unfolding in the markets. Thanks for watching and stay tuned for more.
Bitcoin versus other crypto assets. I mean, there are a lot of other DATs out there doing different types of treasury plays that, we believe Bitcoin is the asset to hold for the long term. And for me to present that to the board, and we're thinking about ways to integrate it with food also, integrating it with the underlying food business. There's actually a lot of interesting things that we can think about. I thought it was the perfect opportunity to create real long-term value for our shareholder. If you look at the macro environment, it couldn't be a better place and time to do this now, because a lot of people ask me, why now? Why not like last year, 2 years ago? A few years ago, we can't do it. I think it'll be a much more difficult environment to do it, right? Especially we haven't listed yet. Even being listed, I think the overall regulatory environment was not as supportive and as friendly, and the regulatory framework is not as clear as it is now. And so with that, I think overall, I would describe it as a structural change that happened around Bitcoin in the past 18 months that made it possible for me to even think about it. And so after having considered it, and because we are a small microcap company, it was, I would say, relatively easier for me to bring it to the board and win their support and then launch it. Because I think if we have a much more scalable business, I think it'll be harder to convince the board that, this is not a major pivot, right? So it was like the size of the company, the time, and the environment that made it perfect opportunity. So once again, it was my job really to look out for the best opportunity for our shareholder. And it's my job to convince the board that this is the best for us and we should take this forward. So I'm glad that, we got the support and here we are. I think I want to keep the plan right now in the near term very simple and focused, which is just, stacking. And recently I shared my target of, you know, 10,000 Bitcoin by the end of the year, which is a very aggressive target. But at the same time, I feel like we have the right support and, structure and framework in place to make that achievable. For example, in the past, couple months, ever since we met in the Vegas conference, we launched our first Bitcoin focused fundraise. And, we raised, $528 million from Anson and a group of investors that are, very Bitcoin and Web3 focused. So I think that in itself is a great start for us to, start stacking. And then second thing we did is last week, we filed another $500 million shelf F3 that would enable us to have even quicker access to the capital depending on market condition. So I think, our plan is always like have the most flexibility for DDC in the near term to do capital raises that is accretive to investors so we can continue to stack in a very disciplined manner. So, in terms of are we going to go into the preferred market, I think that is still too early for us right now, given the size of the company. And there is still a lot of I would say more plain vanilla, straightforward financial tools that we haven't really maximized or capitalized with. So maybe not yet. I think we still have a lot of available facilities in place that we can tap into to hopefully reach that 10,000 Bitcoin goal.
Yeah. Hong Kong Stablecoins Bill, passed May 21, 2025, establishes the world's first comprehensive regulatory framework for fiat-referenced stablecoins, requiring HKMA licensing and stringent compliance measures including fully backed reserves and transparent redemption processes. The legislation, effective August 1, 2025, extends to any stablecoin referencing the Hong Kong dollar regardless of issuance location, positioning Hong Kong as Asia's digital finance regulatory leader. For DayDayCook, this regulatory milestone unexpectedly strengthened their Bitcoin treasury strategy despite not directly targeting Bitcoin. Norma Chu notes that the clear regulatory framework dramatically shifted investor sentiment, with previously hesitant investors completely reversing positions and expressing strong interest after witnessing Hong Kong's proactive crypto governance approach. This regulatory clarity increased both consumer and traditional investor understanding of digital assets, creating broader market confidence. DayDayCook's unique tri-jurisdictional positioning, US-listed, Hong Kong-operated, mainland China connected, proves strategically advantageous amid this regulatory evolution. While mainland China maintains Bitcoin investment prohibitions since 2021, Hong Kong actively promotes Web3 development as a regional crypto hub. This divergence allows the company to access deep U.S. capital markets while leveraging Hong Kong's progressive digital asset framework and strong Chinese-speaking community ties. Let's get back to the interview.
No, I think, it was just like, I think in terms of being listed in the US, right, and having our business in mainland China and Hong Kong, it's actually a great place to be. If you look at Hong Kong recently, in May, they actually passed the stablecoins bill. It's globally the first bill to come out that has really clear framework in terms of stablecoins and also how the Hong Kong government view cryptocurrency in general. I think it opened up a lot of support and education and understanding for the mass consumer and also TradFi investor to understand what stablecoin is. And that, on surface, it might not be so directly related to Bitcoin, but for us, now that we have a Bitcoin treasury strategy on top of the food business, it's actually fantastic. I'll give you an example. A month ago, I was speaking to a very TradFi investor for our previous round of financing. But, he's very busy with a lot of Hong Kong IPOs he was doing, and he just didn't want to understand what we were doing because he didn't want to spend time of learning, okay, what we're doing, what do you mean by accumulating Bitcoin on your listed company? But as what we always do, we always keep investors informed and updated. So I had another call with him probably like a week ago, and the attitude completely changed. It was like a 180-degree change. Like, oh, Norma, like I've been looking into what the Hong Kong government is doing with stable coins, and it's really interesting. And now I take a look at what you're doing. I think Bitcoin offers even more upside. And as an investor, I want in.
Oh, that's great.
And so I think, even though mainland China prohibits direct investment into Bitcoin, since 2021. The Hong Kong government actually promotes Web3 and crypto. They want to be like this, I would say, crypto center for Asia Pacific region. And so, for us, we benefit from having, being the business originated, founded in Hong Kong, and then we have a great following in the Chinese-speaking community, but also listed in the U.S., which is like the deepest capital markets in the world. I think it allows us to not only have this narrative and distribute it to a lot of U.S. investors, but also have a really growing and very, I would say, interesting investor base also in the Asian market. I think is good for the space in general. Like if I have to, just a one-liner, I think it's great. Like more companies coming in, adopting Bitcoin as a treasury strategy, maybe a very aggressive strategy or like conservative strategy is great. Just I think every listed or private company in the future will own Bitcoin on their balance sheet. So it's like almost inevitable. And we feel like there's one every day because we are so deep in the space and we're monitoring every day. But I think when we talk to other TradFi investor or just a friend, they won't even know what it is. So I still think because we're in the zone, we think that, there's so many of them, but we're still such a tiny, tiny little niche market. So I wish that we will have more companies coming in, right? We can be, there are more multi-billion-dollar companies built on Bitcoin accumulation strategy. So, I would say community, like the investor community, retail investor will take Bitcoin strategy even more seriously going forward. I think we are still at a very, very early stage. Whether do we see as a competition or do I worry as a bubble? Like, I think it's really interesting in every space, like even in content. It's the same. Like we were one of the earlier lifestyle content creator in mainland China, right? And a lot of people started doing content. And then people were like, okay, this market is flooded with content creator. But it's a natural evolution of a space. And I think it's healthy, right? It's healthy in the sense there are more people coming in and it's just basically survival of the fittest, right? Whether you're ready to grow this for the long term or if you try it and you can't, then you stop. And so, I think it's natural. And of course, it's important for us to come together and always be I would say like comrades almost to each other and share best practices so we can avoid a massive bubble like scenario, right? Because nobody wants that.
No.
And so I think overall in general, the more people that come into the space, the better. And I mean, right now, if you look at all the communities are discussing, and even like Tim Cosmo, what he's doing with all the Bitcoin treasury, conferences, it's exactly doing that, right? Create a stage where we all come together and then we can all learn from each other. And even though it feels like we're one-upping each other, but it's good, it's like in a good way, it's like, okay, this is what we want to create transparency for everybody. So now here's a dashboard. Now it's a cooler dashboard. Now we have a cooler dashboard. Hey, that's good for everybody, right?
Yeah.
And so I think overall, I'm a very positive person. So I think it's all great for the space.
This perspective shows how aligning regulatory tailwinds with a clear Bitcoin strategy opens doors to both Eastern and Western investors. With Hong Kong emerging as a crypto hub and U.S. markets offering deep capital access, the company is well positioned to build trust, drive growth, and set an example for businesses integrating digital assets into their core strategy. By combining timing, regulatory clarity, and disciplined execution, it stands to capture long-term value while shaping how traditional industries embrace the future of finance. How do you see Hong Kong's push for clear crypto regulations impacting global investor confidence in Bitcoin and related strategies? So stay tuned. If you're seeking clear, data-driven insights on crypto cycles and market trends, remember to like, subscribe, and share to stay ahead. Thanks for watching. The journey is only getting started.